talked to a lot of men today, and they kind of feel like there might be a target on their back. But it didn't start with Kavanaugh. It actually goes back to an Obama-era Title IX reform. And a male student at the University of California, Davis, reportedly had a consensual encounter with a female student that relates to all of this. Now, some weeks later, according to Reason magazine, she convinced herself that she no longer thought it was a consensual thing with them. So she filed on campus a Title IX complaint against her fellow student, and the university then started to investigate. Well, the man ended up spending $12,000 defending himself. For more on this case and why Betsy DeVos wants to reform Title IX, we're joined by Brooke Goldstein, a human rights attorney, an executive at the Lawfare Project, and Anousheh Hossain, who's a feminist and a columnist. Now, Brooke, let's start with you here. Tell me about this case at UC Davis. Now, this young man, turns out, was innocent. Right. But he ends up spending 12 grand to clear his name. Like, is this Title IX rigged against men? What's going on here?
2.5 months of living hell, of facing possible suspension from the school. What was so scary about this case is that the woman who filed the complaint did not even allege any type of violation of the UC Davis student code. She admitted that she engaged in consensual sexual relations with the individual, but she later regretted it. And so the school, instead of just closing the investigation right there, weighed the consequences of doing that. You know, they could face a media uproar, a PR nightmare. So they went for 2.5 months and investigated this student who was later found not guilty of doing anything.
Okay, Anousheh, to me, this hurts the cause of true sexual harassment, because this is a case where a young man and a young woman consensually go into a room together. She tells him and admits this, drop your shirt. He drops his shirt. I guess he touches her somewhere, but there actually was no, they didn't consummate their relationship. And sometime later, she's like, no, this wasn't consensual. How do feminists not find this to be a disturbing lack, not only due process, but a humiliating moment for real victims of sexual harassment and sexual contact?
Yeah, Laura, I completely agree. And I don't think that feminists think that, we shouldn't be sympathetic to men. Anybody who is falsely accused of a crime, of a violent sexual crime, or any crime really in general, it's terrible. It can ruin a young man's life, these kinds of allegations.
$12,000.
Yeah, it's terrible. That being said, it's not like an epidemic. I think the statistic is 0.05%.
Well, is that right?
Yeah,
is that an epidemic of men being falsely accused? We had the Duke lacrosse case. We had the UVA case. Two huge cases.
I am not saying that it doesn't
right now.
I'm going to be able to finish.
Okay, yeah. Let's let Anousheh finish, and then we'll get your response.
Well, I'm saying that it does happen, and it's a very terrible thing. It shows how sexual assault on college campuses and Title IX is not a black and white issue. It can get very complicated, and everybody's story is different. That being said, there's no need to be hysterical. It's not like an epidemic of all these men being wrongly accused on college campuses.
But the left cares about, right? But the left cares about wrongly accused people, and I happen to agree with them.
Yeah, we all care about.
I happen to agree with them. Like, you find these DNA evidence, turns out someone's been in jail for 30 years. That's a rallying cry for all people who care about fairness. So if it's one person who's unfairly accused, that's a sign that maybe people have gone too far on this. And there's an interesting poll that just came out. Brooke, you can chime in here. Has public treatment of those accused of sexual assault gone too far? Yes, 47%. No, 35%, unsure, 18%. I always wonder about those unsure people.
Yeah. This is a societal epidemic, and I think it's really important to understand how we got to this place where we have these mini tribunals at schools. And it's because in 2011, as you said in your opening, there was an Obama
epidemic.
Just one,
if you would allow me to. There was an Obama-era guideline that was issued from the Office of Civil Rights threatening to withhold federal funding from schools across the United States unless they implemented these types of mini tribunals where the preponderance of evidence rules. It's 51%, where it's more likely than not that somebody would be found responsible for one of these sexual assault allegations. And what's happened now, ironically, is there are over 300 lawsuits against American schools, both by men and women, alleging a violation of their due process rights, that they have been discriminated against because the way that schools are enforcing Title VI through these tribunals, there's no due process, there's no fairness. The victim is assumed to have been assaulted. The accused is assumed to be already guilty.
All right, let's get Anusha in here, and then I want to play some
blanket statements like that. And Brooke, I have no idea where you're getting your stats from. And people, we can disagree on the statistics and the numbers.
But look it up.
Let me.
The lawsuits are public.
Okay.
LexisNexis.
We can disagree on stats. Okay, I don't know what Westlaw is.
It's the truth is the truth.
May I finish?
The lawsuits exist.
I let you speak. I let you speak. I think we need to be very sympathetic and very careful. But that being said, I mean, let's connect as women here. We know that just as a fact, we think about our security, and if we're going to be assaulted or attacked, much more. I mean, you know, people say that it's easier and more likely that you'll be accused of murder than wrongly accused of sexual assault. So it's a very small number. It does happen.
Yeah.
It's bad. And
I'm going to do my own Westlaw check, Brooke, afterward, make sure that 300 figure. It's been a while since I've used Westlaw, but I actually remember. All right, this was interesting. This all kind of dovetails into the Kavanaugh situation. And Cecile Richards, of course, was former head of Planned Parenthood. She chimed in. Let's watch.
I think women they're looking at who controls a judiciary committee. This was all male, majority who jammed through this appointment and were so disrespectful of Dr. Ford, of other women who came forward, and women understand that.
Anusha, so I thought they were pretty respectful to Cecile Richards, to Christine Ford. The prosecutor asked questions, but she was are you okay? Is everything all right? Tell me if you need me to rephrase. I mean, I thought that we were actually too easy on Christine Ford, frankly, but I don't get that. They were mistreating Christine Ford at the hearing.
Well, you know, first of all, she came forward with her truth, and she was immediate. When women come forward, they have very little to gain from this. You know, they're usually not believed.
They're $700,000 from her GoFundMe page. 700 grand. Where's that going?
I know, but look at her now. She's had to move out of her home. She can't stay at her house. She's getting death threats. What I'm saying
Maybe you should
is,
send anonymous letters to Dianne Feinstein, who will then leak them then. Right?
Yeah, but are we victim blaming? Are we blaming Dr. Ford for coming?
Don't play that game.
Forward?
That might work on some other shows, but like the whole, we as women feel this. I'm an American. I'm a person. I believe in due process
I'm an American
for
too.
women
I'm an American
and men.
Too. But so is Dr. Ford.
Right,
she came forward with her truth.
Okay, well,
this is rape culture, Laura. This is rape culture 101. Let's blame women for men's sexual violence.
This is lame. That doesn't work though for most people. I get what you're saying.
But it's a
criminals
fact.
should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law,
She didn't even get a fair investigation. Everybody knows Republicans were that was such a sham. They didn't even interview her.
Right. Yeah, they didn't interview her.
Drama.
No comment.
Okay, no comment.
All right, Brooke, final, quick.
Okay, look, what is undeniable is that men obviously are feeling scared to the point where we're now seeing male students also rush to file Title IX claims when they've had
now, we're out of time. Brooke, we got to stop all this.
Poor
The men and women have to be responsible.
Such a hard time.
Stop. People have to start being responsible, reporting these things immediately, and not putting yourself in situations where you can't get help from people who are near you. So men and women, wise up on this stuff. Coming up, former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus is here next. A lot more to get to. Midterms 4 weeks away.
At Passages Malibu, we treat and heal the underlying